Alright, today we're going to have a look at all of the mini resonators that KuroGames has put out so far. As you can see, these are the total of 12 resonators that have been uploaded so far. You might have already seen some of them. Notably, I think Yangyang, the Rovers, Sanhe and Jiyan have been in a livestream before. You might have seen this dance from it even. The others, weirdly enough, have not made an appearance yet, as far as I know, even though these can be very well used for livestreams in my opinion, especially Shoukeeper and Youhu in their most recent one. We have at least one resonator from every version, mostly 1.0, because I think some of them were actually just made for the livestream, and because people like them so much, more were made. Looking at them closer, you can already see I had to change a little bit of them. I don't have the shader they use for these in live streams, as it is kind of different from the one that is used for WutheringWaves. So some of the eye whites, and especially Rover's face, might look a little bit odd, but I hope you can ignore that for now. I think these were made with attention to detail in mind, as most of the articles of clothing on every single one of these is quite true to the actual model. Taking Changli as an example, she has the very same hair details, the same sleeves, the very same dress, especially with the little cutouts, stockings, as well as shoes with little heels. Throughout the versions, the models were made with smaller details. As you can tell, the Yangyang one was made with a giant hat. Yangyang doesn't actually have this big of a hat, but I think this is actually more charming than making smaller hats like this, even if given they're more like the actual model. Adding silly big details like this gives the small model a little bit more character, at least in my opinion. We're going to go quickly through all of the models just to compare how close they are to the actual thing. Like I said before, Yangyang's head is giant, adorned with a really big bow, and the hat taking up most of her big ol' noggin. It is really cute. Her tacet mark is on the forehead where it should be, spanning over 3 stars. I think this is true to detail, though I'd have to check again if it's really 3 stars. Something I noticed is that the default expression for Yangyang is, worried. I did make a Twitter post about this, my face when they kill me off for shock factor, because that's kind of what this reminded me of. She does have the feather-like ends of her hair too. As you can see with Yinlin right next to her, her bangs and hair are more pointy, while Yangyang has the true to the big model feather, also ending in white and having little slits even to make them more feather-like. The dress also seems accurate even if it's a little less shaded. It has the wave pattern, which I think was more important to the designers to go into detail to than some other things. I think the most important thing about these models is that the things that the players see a lot are true to detail, while other things, like maybe her gloves, aren't as detailed. And true to the model, she also has heels, as you will see is a trend. Moving on to Yinlin, she does have a little hairpin. Again, the things that players see the most are the most detailed. She has her hairband, and her eyes are actually modeled differently than Yangyang, say for example. They also kind of seem to have tried to keep the characteristics of the character, giving her sharper eyes while Yangyang a little more doe eyes. She has the little red dots as well as her dress. Now, I don't know why they had to keep this one as close to detail as they did. I don't mind it per se. It is attention to detail. I could have personally done without the belly button shading because, again, as I've said before, it doesn't really make any sense with the dress being this thick. I think a really cool detail is that they managed to cram these big designs into a really small space. Even if they had to cram some things, they kept the core aspects, like the chains and the little crossover, as well as the back of her dress and the design. Aside from the heels, she also has these electric little bands she usually has. One thing I noticed though before we move on to Youhu is that her tacet mark is red on this. Is that in the actual game or is that just a texture map error? I'd have to check again. Moving on to Youhu, you can kind of see what I meant with the shader issue. I actually had to fix this myself, as it looked a little bit worse even with the original face rig. I just opened the chin up and surgically stitched it back together, if you may. As I've said before, she does have the little hat with the coin on it, a lot smaller than Yangyang's, even though I think in the game, even though there is a difference in size, I don't know, I think I would have preferred it to be a tiny bit bigger, just to add the little chibi feel to it more. I haven't dissected Youhu's model yet, I'm still thinking if I'm going to do that next, so some of these details I'm critiquing here might actually be true to size or bigger than they are on the actual model. But besides that, they kept the little flowers in her hair, the hairbands, the hair clip, which I'm not sure is actually this big, and if it's bigger than the actual one, I do really like it. They kept the little cloud eyebrows, almost, if you want to call them that, as well as her eyeliner and the exact eye shape. And the little smug-ass mouth. Besides that, her neck is tiny on this thing, and I think the actual clothes are at fault for that. She has her tassel mark, which is slightly grey this time and not red, but besides that, I think the core aspect was her charm here. Like, as you can see, she has her thigh strap with the little diamond, but it does look a little bit dull. And that's not critique, I'm just saying that the charm is the core aspect of this model. She does have her little frozen hands, as well as her big ass bag. Moving on to Zhezhi, she does have the normal part she has, along with all the highlights she has in the actual model. I do think this is really nice. They could have just, I don't know, given her a couple ones and called it a day, but they actually tried to keep the exact ones she has on the big one. She also has her little white hair bows, the glasses she usually has, as well as her earrings. I actually think the earrings on the big model are more dangly than this, but I think reducing dangly earrings to just a bow on her ear is kind of cute. I do like how big they are, that's for sure. Besides that, her expression, again kind of like Yinlin's, looks a little more aloof. Together with that, she also has all the layers that she has on the big one, and the little flip, which I think is also really cool. Well, they paid attention to that. The core part of this model are definitely her brushes, as well as this case, which I still think holds her colors. On the back of her, she does have all of the drawings she has on the big one, paying attention to the mountains and the birds. Moving on to Xiangli Yao, he does have something the big model doesn't have, and I think this is so fucking cute. The big one does have something resembling a heart, but I can't remember if it quite overlays like this. It is really cute, and I wish the big model had as much of a heart like this, though I think it might look awkward on a bigger one. He keeps his little star details, as well as the white tips of his hair. Oh, I also just noticed they kept his little studs. That's so cute. Again, these models have such close attention to detail to things that you would notice in the game, and kind of casting aside the things that you wouldn't pay as close of attention to, like the pants, for example. They do still have their little technical pattern. In contrast to that, his arm does have the very detailed pattern he has in the game, as well as making the little ball for his shoulder. He does keep his bag and all of the wavy details. Here we have the Rovers with the very iconic details, his little necklace, the little badges they have on both of them, her very skin-freeing dress that I'm not a fan of, but I won't hate more on this video, her little boots, his little leg strap, as well as the little butt charm he has. Like Yangyang, she does have a very big bow. They also both have the little rat tail with their respective details, her having the little strings of fabric and him having the two separating rat tails. Jiyan and Jinshi have very layered clothes, and this is reflected quite well in these chibi models. Jiyan, for one, has his really big earrings, the dragon on his coat, the tons of belts, the one side up, one side down jacket, the little golden details, as well as his golden sleeve. Though in the chibi model, they don't have claws like they usually do, and that's mainly because they're meant to be a bit more round. Jinshi, on the other hand, has her little flower earrings, as well as a deadpan. She does have all of her hair accessories along with the text on them, the little dragon tail belt, and all of the layers she usually has. One thing they didn't really bother drawing too closely are the mountains on her dress, and I don't really blame them for that, though I do think it's kind of sad since Zhezhi got the mountains she has on her. Moving on to the last 3 ones, we do have Changli, like I talked about before, with all of the little hair details, the flame arm, the dress, the heels, and all of the little details on her jacket. We have Sanhua, again with a comically big hat, which is so cute. She does have the little dangly she has on it, as well as the little piece of fabric or bow she uses. This actually kind of looks like they ripped it straight from the model, though I don't want to accuse them of that. Even if it's their model, they're free to do anything with it. It is just very close to the actual model, with all of the writing, the little triangles, the inside white, the outside black, and this thing? I don't know how much these modelers were paid, but this is really close to detail. She does have the little detail in her earring, the bow she has to the side, the bead necklace she has, which again is just holding together with hopes and dreams, the inscriptions on her clothing, her belts, all true to detail, the little flower with the handkerchief hanging off of it, all the layering she usually has, as well as the little details and writings, and she's actually the only one that has details under her shoes. The modeler really liked Sanhua and gave her more attention to detail than the other chibi models, even if I praised it before, and don't get me wrong, this is really cool. I don't get it why they would put this here when none of the other ones got their little details, but okay. She too has a red tacet mark. Huh. And lastly, we have the Shoukeeper. Together with Youhu is the most recent one to the edition, and I don't really notice too many differences to the other ones. And I kind of do really like that. I like how consistent they are. Besides that, she does have her veil with the big butterfly and the little ones, the strings on her arms with the little butterflies on her hand, the open chest, though I can't really tell where the mesh begins here. You can kind of tell in the big one, I think it starts here, but it isn't as obvious on the small one. She does have her little crystal mark, as well as her dress and the little butterfly-like tail, along with the Black Shores flower. Oh, they also made her shoes true to detail. Though I was told in my last dissection, these shoes do actually exist and they're not as uncomfortable, but I personally would break my ankle. Having looked at them all, my kind of verdict is that they are really cute, though just like the sigils in the game, it's kind of sad these are used nowhere until now. Sure, we got some of them in the live streams, but obviously a lot more since then have been made, though just went unused. My theory on this maybe is they're making a kind of Honkai Impact 3rd dorm system, kind of like a housing system like Genshin Impact has, mixed with these little things maybe. I do wish Wuwa makes something similar to the teapot in Genshin Impact while keeping these little cuties in, just because a lot of Genshin Impact players call themselves teapot mains, and I think this could apply to WutheringWaves really easily. And I really hope before any kind of housing system gets made, we do get to see them in some kind of event maybe. Having said that, I hope you enjoyed having a closer look at all of these little chibis from the livestream and all the ones that have been made after, and you have a nice day. Bye bye.